Okay, this will probably be it for discharge videos. Um, it works. First of all, I'll show what it looks like. That's so boring. So how does this work? We cast discharge, and we use all the different charges, and we get these from Dodories elixirs. And we use 4 of these guys. Because these flasks are never active, we have a very easy time putting a lot of charges into these flasks. And then the most important thing is the passive tree. Because we are traveling to get these charges up here, the charges down here, and everywhere else. The only one that we're missing right now is over here, which is why we're 17 charges. If we anointed this, then we'd be at 18 charges. The investment to have a 9 charge discharge or an 18 charge discharge, those are kind of your sweet points, right? 10 charges cost as much as 18 charges because every time you pop a flask, you get 9 charges. So it's 9 charges per flask. This tree looks awful. It is. But, you know, it's a lot of travel nodes, which pretty much means that you work well as a strength stacker. So right now we're level 85, and honestly, with an Astra Mantis, right now we're below 1x, right? Well below 1x. With 1x, if it were to ever drop for me at one point, we can probably bump our strength by another 300-400, I guess. Because we can start converting. This can start converting int to strength. This can start converting dex to strength. If we get a chest with iron will, then we can dump all of these nodes. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 nodes. Well, 10 nodes is huge because then we can route up here and we can probably complete the loop to go down here and dump these nodes instead, anointing fervor. Right, which will become a super long chain, ending up roughly about here, where we're gonna put a couple split personalities, which will give you insane amounts of strength and other stats. So you can turn this into a pretty good strength stacker. As it stands, we have like 1,000 strength, and our gear is trash. We have a Dune Cherubale with increased lightning damage. This is kind of nice. We have this guy with some chaos resistance. We're horribly overcapped on chaos resistance and stun avoidance. We got increased area of effect. We can add a suffix to this. We just haven't yet. We have gloves with +1 frenzy charge and 100 strength. These things are like 5C. This is like maybe 5C. I believe this was 6C. We got a 5 link. Yeah. Yeah, that's our amulet. Still. We have some boots with cannot be frozen, which is actually really nice. So this is a couple C. And then we have an anomalous discharge of 20 quality. So that's another expensive little item. But the extra cast speed really is a lot of quality of life. The belt, we're overcapped on case resistance, so it's just some strength and life. We have a ring for some case resistance and some life. And we have a ring for some resists and life and strength. It's nothing to write home about. But that's kind of the nice thing about it. If this playstyle appeals to you, there is plenty you can do to make things better. This playstyle does not appeal to me. So let's take a look at what the playstyle looks like. This is tier 8. We're 85. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. But you can take a look at what it looks like. This up. I'm still completing my atlas. It's been a very, very slow leak. So we do that. We hit discharge. Everything everywhere dies. And then you just walk through the maps. Maps like this, where you have to go through doors, is super frustrating. Okay, because your discharge don't always work right. But, you know, once you get through a doorway, you can just discharge. Oh, we have proximity shields. One of the many things that's irritating about this build. Proxy bubbles. Hey, they're gone. Fantastic. As you can see, we have some area of effect. Area of effect is nice. I mean, there's a lot of things to say about the build that are very nice. There's, yeah, you have all the charges. The charges, of course, provide you with some benefits. You have just a nice amount of damage that's being put out by discharge. Where's this guy? Oh, here he is. There we go. So, what do we do there? Oh, we didn't do anything. Let's put up some flash generation. These brands, the only thing they really do is generate fast charges. And that allows us to put this up faster. I should put up my curse because it's a boss. Oh, come on, buddy. There you go. Okay, I'm gonna have 2 of these guys running around. Dead yet? Nope. Alright. So there you have it. That was a boss with increased life. We're only doing like tier 8. That's as high as I've gotten. As you can see, it is not very exciting. Unless, you know, you get super excited for watching an entire screen explode. It's pretty nice for, you know, these guys. Because in general, you just push button, screen disappears. We are using the, what do you call it? Avatar Fire. Main reason for that is just to be able to hit around corners. So yeah, for our, oh, let's do this in hideout. That's stupid to do it in here. Alright, for our buffs, we are using Determination because it's great. Vitality, Clarity, Precision, and Herald of Ash. Not Avatar Fire, Herald of Ash. Herald of Ash is nice because sometimes you pop a discharge and then somebody's just around the corner, but then the Herald of Ash explodes the guy next to them and then they die anyway. We do way more damage than we need to. Like the only time we can actually gauge what our damage looks like is when we're interacting with a boss. We have awful penetration. All of our penetration right now comes from Trinity support. So we have 16% pen. Yeah. You can put elemental penetration on this and you'll have way more. You have, let's see what I got. Crits, Inspiration, Trinity, more crits. Then we use elemental hit with Trinity, Fortify, and elemental damage with attacks. This is just to help boost up our Trinity if we die for some reason or something else, so we don't have to rely on our discharge to power up our Trinity. Normally you can just let the discharge do the Trinity when you're clearing, like you'll be always on full stacks, but you know, when you start out with a boss, this is nice. We are using Elemental Equilibrium, and we use that via Battle Mage's Cry with increased critical strike support, Stormbrand, and faster casting. So the way that this all interacts together is that the new Elemental Equilibrium is -25 to all the elements you don't hit with. So there's no more plus anything, right? There's no downside to Elemental Equilibrium. It's all upside. So if we have or the little brand that does the little sharks, well then we just drop 25 resist on the other two. And we're using then Elemental Weakness for 38 resist reduction. It's nice. Notable notes. Going up here for 2% movement speed per frenzy charge. Well, we've got 7 frenzy charges. We can only explode 6 of them, but we got 7 of them. So this is 14% movement speed. It's amazing. This node, you know, 7 times 8, 56 damage. Over here we have 18 charges right now. So again, it's like 50s damage. These 2 points is like 100% increased damage. That's pretty good. Attack speed is okay. Evasion is okay. Other notable things. Reservation fixing. I haven't even taken anything here yet for Attribute Mastery. That's something that can be done later. Iron Will, very, very important. Without this, you don't do damage. Runebinder for the extra brand. And what we do is we have this Master Surgeon. Master Surgeon gives us a flash charge whenever we crit. Well, the 2 brands are critting all the time. So that gives us a lot of flash charges for sustain, which is awesome. We get 3 flash charges here. We get them for here for crits. And whenever we pop a flask, we gain 6% of life. All of these things are super important. This node makes this build possible because whenever we pop one of these flasks, we take 12.5% of our life in chaos damage after resist. That's for 75% resist. Minus 6%, well, you only take 6% of our life in chaos damage. So that's pretty good. So we got 4 of these guys. They all give us 3 of each. Now, whenever we pop these flasks, you notice that, oh, didn't even eat charges. We regen pretty quick, and these flasks themselves, when they're sitting here, went from 9 to 16 charges, and now from 16 to 22 charges. This thing is gaining a lot of charges very, very fast. And the reason that's happening is, 1, we get Nature's Boon for 3 charges every 3 seconds. And this second one lives down here, which is Survival Secret. Flasks gain 3 charges every 3 seconds while they are inactive. Well, our elixirs are always inactive. So, sweet, fantastic. They're always eating charges. We also have this Bismuth Flask. This Bismuth Flask is actually really cool. First of all, it consumes 11 charges. Right? That is a very low number. And then there's a chance it doesn't consume charges at all. And every time I'm gaining charges, which is every time I inflict a crit, it's checking this thing whether or not I should be adding more charges. Or should be checking whether or not it's full. I think it says it's triggered based upon on charges. Which means that this thing is popping very frequently. So even though here it looks like I have like a second of downtime, where you're actually playing in maps, you don't have a second of downtime. This thing is going to pop a lot, which means that this thing in effect is regenerating a lot of life, which is why we want used when charges reach full, you know, overusing our flask effectively, because each time it gets used, we remove Corrupting Blood, Bleed, and we gain flask charges. We gain 6% of life. So, super useful flask. This thing is awesome. Going to do more with this in the next build, but in this build, this is just a nice sustain mechanic. Plus, you can just slam the flask 3 times and you can get back 24% of your life, which is nice. Right now, we have like 3.5k life after reservations. We're up here for chaos resistance. It's important. Our jewels in here is just whatever I had available. They're just simple jewels. We're picking up a lot of life. Like a lot of these little 10, 5, 10, 6 nodes. Like over here is one. Over here we pick up one. Here we pick up one. Here we pick up one. We pick up one here. We pick up one here. Got one over here. And got one over here. So we are adding a lot of life with relatively low investment. Because we go by all the life nodes. Over here we have the first conversion to strength. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dex nodes. It's pretty good. I still haven't done my final lab. And overall, you know, it's been kind of poor. Oh, we picked up Call to Arms, just so I can put Battle Mage's Cry on right click and forget about it. I guess I automated this build a bit too much to actually make it engaging to play. You just walk around, hit flasks, explode screen. But yeah, this is what you can do with 1x. With a little bit more money, a little bit more levels, you can do a whole lot more. Right now we're level 85, So 15 more points for any stat stacking build. 15 points is an insane amount. If you clean this up with a armor with Iron Will, which you can get this league, then that of course gives you a lot. An Astra Mantis gives us a lot because we can put something here that converts int to strength. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 60 strength. And we can drop this node. Over here, we can drop these 4 dex nodes to strength. So it's another 60 strength. Can pop one in here. 1, 2, 3. Don't think this one's tagged. So 1, 2, 3, 4 dex nodes that can again become strength. Another 60 strength. And then up here we have 3 int that we can convert to strength if we wanted to. Super value. We can also pick up this node and it gives us plus 20 strength as well, which is amazing. More movement speed because of the boots. The boots are pretty terrible. So lots of potential to grow, but the playstyle is just not very engaging. It does everything I hoped it would do, and it's boring. But it's effective. And it's a pretty good use for this Survival Secrets duel. One thing to note, it says it's reduced effect, right? 20% reduced effect. Really bad for Pathfinders normally. Well, it doesn't work with Dodri's elixirs. Will it continue to not work? Who knows? Magic. If at some point they decide that, hey, we are going to let these number of charges be a scalable value by flask effect, well, we can do a whole different type of setup because we don't need 4 of these flasks anymore, right? We can go to fewer flasks, giving us more charges, because then we can get out of a single flask like 15 charges instead of 9. Right now, I'm just, hitting 2 flasks at a time, which is giving me one too many power charges right now, but a pretty good amount of charges. Leveling. Pretty miserable, actually. It's don't level this tree, which is, I guess, goes for any stat stacking build. Because until you get Iron Will, you just do nothing. But you can get pretty far if you have some twink gear. Which I definitely did. Other things to note. Oh, Pantheon. Right. So it might be really tempting to go for the discharge that does more damage based upon the quality. What you want is to get your discharges off. So you want to be stun immune. And you want to have relatively decent cast speed. You want to be freeze immune, right? You want to get your discharge off. That is way more valuable than more damage on your discharge. As you saw, level 5 Link with level 19 GMs, no quality, and some very questionable gear choices, we do too much damage. So yeah, don't skimp on that. Get your discharges off. When your discharges go off, you're going to be happy. Soul of the Brine King has awful synergy with discharge because you're casting, right? You're sitting there, you get stunned. Now you can be stunned for 2 seconds, but your discharge just hit a 2-second cooldown. You can be stunned as you're casting again. Yeah, it's shit. Other things to note. Reduced effect of shock, super important, right? When you hit yourself, every time you cast a discharge, you effectively took 100% of your max life as chaos damage. Be mindful of shock. Shock can be bad. But yeah, otherwise this is a effective, lazy, unengaged, boring, clear setup. It might get more interesting where we start doing more with elemental hit, and the Battle Mage's Cry. That's set up to have more of an engaging gameplay experience. But right now it seems like my damage is starting to finally ramp up, and my damage is already to the point where I'm like, oh, everything dies. Bosses don't immediately die, but like whenever you have just boring content like a map, things just disappear. And yeah. So even though that's like a cap discharge, right? We hit like 3 or 4 mobs, doesn't matter. Also, whenever you discharge, fantastic to do it inside of a doorway. Of course, everything is hitting you at that time, but you are able to hit both sides of the doorway. You get a little bit of convenience with the not Avatar Fire, Herald of Flames, Herald of Anchor, whatever it's called, because it clears around corners a little bit, especially with the increased area of effect that we give everything. Right, so especially for like layouts like this, where you have these pillars, quite often there's like a dude who magically survives. Well, if they're standing next to anyone, they don't. Also, the closer you are to those pillars, the more effective the pillars are. Wow, that guy just tanked everything. Oh, was nice while he lasted. And the nice thing for this guy is you just zoom in, and as soon as you pop in, everything pops out, and that makes just this pretty much it's kind of the inspiration for it, just my displeasure with the leak mechanic, and just being like, okay, I want something that kills everything, and well, it did. But it also became boring very, very quickly. Like, there's not many choices you're making. You're just popping in, exploding the entire room, and moving on. Yeah. Last of this video, unless somehow I get like a bunch of exalts, and I'm actually able to make significant changes to this character. Right now, it's just to the point where it's working. Make it a little bit better over time, but that seems like it's boring and I don't get to play a whole lot. So I rather try something new and see if I can make that work. Yeah, that's it.